Hello, everybody. So it's been a while since I made a video I like this, and the reason I'm doing it now is because I don't really have a lot of choice. I'm still isolating due to, the COVID thing. So, as often does, I think about Lorne sometimes. I was picking up a book that I've already read, and I was just it's kind of and I'm always babbling on about read this and read that. Anybody that used to listen to me sort of solo videos before I mainly started streaming, but there is a book I read which is very popular. May have already read it, or at least heard about it. It's called The Road Less Travelled by M. Scott Peck, and it is without a doubt one of the best books I've ever read. And I remember reading it, and I don't know why I do this, but I always sort of relate. I'm on a sort of. I really think it's important that everybody engages in some kind of self-improvement, whether it's that fitness through the mind. You have to improve yourself, or to some degree, because it's an admirable goal. And the book talks about spiritual growth. You don't necessarily have to believe in spiritual things or think that, there's some place in heaven for us after. It doesn't really matter what your beliefs are with regard to that. It only really matters how you live your life. I would sort of be interested to think and hear anybody's opinion who thinks that some form of improvement isn't worthwhile. But the book, for some reason, when there's books about specific improvement, I always think, where did Lorne kind of go wrong? Why is he like he is? And not just him, but people like him. Why do some people just never seem to do anything worth, of any note? I mean, there's people in the world that are just bad, that are very bad people, that spend their whole lives hurting people, that are criminally insane. There's millions of them. We kind of look at Lorne and use him as a kind of almost a poster boy for criminals, really. I mean, he's not. It's like with the catfishing calls. It's like people, oh, listen how enraged he gets and all that. I understand it. But it's almost like I get the impression, and I have to, that some people believe that the kind of behaviour that Lorne exhibits are exclusive to him. You know what I mean? The sort of the bizarre jealousy and the narcissism and the just kind of total lack of integrity. But I remember when I first, I think he just came up in my recommendeds on Amazon, The Road Less Travelled. I can't remember. I remember looking at the cover and thinking, it just kind of, it had a flower on it. Is it a lotus flower? It kind of grabbed my attention. Strangely enough, the image that you can see on your screen now is not the real book with a picture of Lorne on it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine walking into a drugstore? Where did that come from? It's probably because I'm drinking a remedy at the minute. Can you imagine walking into a bookstore and seeing that? That'd be so funny. Anyway, the first line of the book is 3 words. Life is difficult. That's the first sentence. It's almost like Lorne hasn't fundamentally grasped that truth. And many of us don't. And I know I never really got that. There was a part of me that always expected things to fall into place, and when they didn't, I was enraged. Not necessarily enraged, but like, oh, life is so unfair. Well, of course it is. But it kind of has to be sometimes. I don't want to there's people that have been through terrible, terrible things. I mean, I lost my father recently. I mean, it doesn't, there's not that much worse than losing someone so close to you and learning to deal with that. Do I personally think that life is unfair because of it? Well, I mean, there's people that lose children. My father had been ill for a long time, not terminally, but he's had health problems for nearly a decade, and I'm grateful for the time that I spent with him. But people go through really terrible things in life and really difficult hardships, things that don't seem to make any sense. And if you look at Lorne's life, really, I mean, he would think that he's the most hard done to person in the world. We're going to do maybe some discussions about what we think growing up for him was like, basically, which I think is going to be really interesting. But when it says, the first part of the book, when it says life is difficult, it kind of always makes me wonder why. Because Lorne does try things, tries to, as we said, we believe that his only admirable trait is his resourcefulness. Some people have turned that into a negative, which I kind of understand. It's almost like his resourcefulness is like scheming, and scheming is generally, how can I screw other people for my benefit? So I get that. If I just read the second part of the book, it's like a book club, this, isn't it? So it basically, the first title of the book is Section 1, Discipline, and then it says the heading is Problems and Pain. It says life is difficult. This is a great truth, one of the greatest truths. It is a great truth because once we truly see this, we transcend it. Once we truly know that life is difficult, once we truly understand and accept it, then life is no longer difficult. Because once it is accepted, the fact that life is difficult no longer matters. I love that so much. And I get frustrated over the fucking stupidest things, like the most ridiculous things you would imagine. Like I really need to chill out. Like, what was it that happened to me today that pissed me off? Well, I went to get a drive-through coffee because I can't go in anywhere, and the woman served me the wrong cup. Like, it was the wrong size. It was a large rather than a small one. And in that moment, I got really wound up. I didn't have a go at her because I, fortunately, able to, but she could tell I was pissed off. But it was actually more than I'd asked for. I was like, oh, this cup's too big. What the fuck am I going to do with it? I was thinking, hang on a minute. Just drink what you want and then throw the rest away. Why am I getting wound up? And that's just a minor example. But one of the truths, this truth that is being talked about here, is something that people like Lorne don't live to. They don't. That is a truth that it doesn't exist in their reality. Let's just focus on Lorne, shall we? Rather than just people like him. Lorne thinks that everybody should dance to his tune. He kind of goes through life without truly grasping that life is difficult, that everything takes an enormous amount of work to be not necessarily successful. It depends what you mean. Successful is not necessarily financially, but let's just say successful as in you've got a good job, you're a well-rounded person, and you're not fucking criminally insane. You don't go chatting up kids on. But in order to be like that, you've got to. That truth has got to become part of who you are. You've got to work hard. and you've got to accept the fact that things are going to go wrong. You are going to get rejected by members of the opposite sex, even if you're the greatest guy in the world and whatever. Not everybody is going to like you. People will betray you. I remember, and to be honest, I was listening to the Tiffany call where she was going into detail with him about the. Well, he was going into detail with her about the siblings story, you know, the mac and cheese and meatballs. That highlights what I'm talking about here more than anything. That he, in his reality, in the way that Lorne lives, he believes that his siblings are responsible for the fact that he went online and tried to molest a child and committed criminal offences. That's it. Now, why would he think that? Well, he's kind of emotionally incredibly immature. That's something also we're going to talk about. There's some kind of... I do honestly believe, I could be wrong because I'm not trained to make such a diagnosis, but from all the evidence that's there, and the crying and the whimpering and the feel sorry for me and the total... There's some kind of stunted emotional development there. Like he stopped growing when he was... at a certain age, when he was very, very young, well before he reached double figures in age. And that's why I don't necessarily go as hard on him as other people. Not that it matters, like, what our fucking degree of hostility is towards him, but you know why I question the catfishing and thing? It's like, well, if there has been some kind of stunted development, does it change anything? I don't know. I don't want to get into, because people have strong opinions about it. But I almost believe like he's not capable of making the choices that the rest of us would do. He can't see things. That mac and cheese story is something that someone would be telling a teacher in preschool. We call it primary. I don't know what you guys call your early school. Like preschool, not preschool, but we have primary school and high school. Primary school is for like ages up to 11. The mac and cheese story, it's almost like he's telling the teacher something at playtime in primary school. Something, why he's thrown something at one of his friends. Or, do you get what I'm saying? It's like, well, they promised me that they'd, lend me the toy, and my other friend promised me that he'd lend me his coat. It's like, where's it going, this dude? From his perspective, his siblings should never have let him down. And he's like, it's disgusting. It's like, well, people, obviously there is family. I mean, there's a lot to consider with this story, because we don't know how much of it is the truth. There is some truth in it. It's impossible to say how much, because Lorne doesn't exist in the truth. He doesn't tell things. He doesn't understand the value of truth, which is something else. The truth is the truth, and without it, what have you got? Do you want to... I was just watching a 60-minute clip, 60 Minutes Australia clip about the Wolf of Wall Street guy, and, that guy, he couldn't lie straight in bed, that motherfucker. He's still scheming now and, going around and doing motivational speeches and all that, and it's like, dude, it's like, don't pretend to be whiter than fucking white, and he was getting all irate with the interviewer and all that, and that's the way some people are. They value material things, or things that they think are going to make them happy, more than the truth, when the opposite is true. The things in life that are real, that really matter, that are the cornerstone to a good life, is things like, is the truth. It's living from the truth. It's being integral. Like, you can have things like loads of money and all these women that don't really care about you, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things, but if that becomes your primary objective, you're going to lie and scheme and cheat to get there, and you'll end up destroying yourself. Those things don't bring happiness. But if you understand that, and you're just playing around in the world like it's a game, and you don't take it too seriously, and you don't hurt anyone in the process, there's absolutely fuck all wrong. Anybody that does, that's making all that money and is doing it in a conscientious way, fucking fair play to them, you know what I mean? But if you look at Lorne's own little world and how he told that story about how his siblings wronged him, it's like if anybody does him harm, it's the biggest, or something which he perceives to be, a violation or a dishonour, it's the worst thing in the world. Where his siblings are concerned, it's worse because for him, that represents them sort of ignoring him and kind of dismissing him. And he can't get his head around that. What he doesn't understand about that whole situation is it doesn't matter who wronged you. It doesn't matter if it's your fucking mother. You're not my fucking mother. It doesn't matter. Life, things like that will happen. Some people are shitbags. Some people lie. Some people can't be trusted. Some people will screw you over just to earn $1. Life's going to throw things like that at you. It's your responsibility to not let it ruin you. Not to say, oh, fuck this, I've not got my mac and cheese right. Where's the nearest chat room so I can go and fucking molest a kid? It's funny as you're listening to this, and I hope you like how ludicrous that actually is. It's funny, and we can use it as like an example because it's so cartoon-like in its unreality. It's so two-dimensional. But to Lorne, you see, I don't know how much of him actually believed that bollocks, or whether he was just kind of thought that people would buy it. He obviously thought people would feel sorry for him when he said that. Otherwise, he would never have said it. But like I said, it doesn't matter what they did to him. Even you'd have to go to extreme circumstances before you started blaming other people. Let's say someone like kidnapped you and put you in a basement for 2 years and deprogrammed you and fucking subjected you to horrific torture, and then you ended up walking out and murdering someone because that's something where there might be some mitigation there. You go, well, actually, did you see what that guy's actually insane now? He's no longer responsible for his actions. But we're talking about a guy who made some kind of flimsy arrangement. And you know what made it even funnier with that story about how, he didn't get his mac and cheese, so he was messed up? Half of it was like, it was supposed to be a favour he'd done for his family members. At the end of the day, you don't do things for other people with the expectation that you're going to get something in return. It's like, you do things because you want to help people, not because you want to be known as a person who helps people. Oh, look at him, isn't he great? It's because you value other people and you want to help other people. You have to help yourself first. You can't help anybody unless you're all right. But he can't. He can't put the pieces together. So, but it represented a bit more to him than that. Obviously, there was the, he didn't. He tried to help his siblings out, okay. But he tells the tale as if it was almost they disrespected him by not showing their appreciation for him, and that's something he can't handle. Now, if you're a sensitive soul and you did idolise your brothers and sisters or whatever, which is very common for the youngest in a family, it's going to happen a lot. And then because I can identify with that. I had an older brother and an older cousin, and they were kind of like, well known in the area. So I always used to cling around with him, and they used to know everybody, and they used to tease me, you know. And I used to understand, you know, and some of it was pretty unpleasant. Nothing too horrific, but you know, sometimes I was only a little kid, and sometimes I'd cry because I looked up to them, and then for them to diss me, it has a huge emotional impact on someone. But this is an adult. This is why I think there's this kind of stunted development potentially. But for him, it was devastating. Like, oh my God, you know, like I said, how much of it he actually believed, I don't know, because it took him a while to come out with it. I think there's part of me that thinks he was like trying to think of something so bad, and that was the only thing he could come up with, which makes it even funnier. You know, it's like, dude, God, could you not have come up with a better story? But he because he wants to avoid responsibility, he has to look back into the past and think, right, what happened to me, or what did somebody else do to make me do that to other people, because I'm not responsible. I'm not a bad guy. And that's one of the hardest things I think I've ever had to do, is look at things I've done in the past and say, you know what, I was a shit. That was a really shitty thing to do. I was a shit person. Not on every level, but on the levels that mattered. Even when I thought I was a great guy, some of the things I did were disgraceful. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you have to admit that. You have to go, fucking hell. And then you have to change. And then you have to not do it anymore. And then there's no room for guilt then, really. Because we're human and we fuck up. And life is difficult, as the book says. You know what I mean? It's like, admit you were shit and fucking move on. Now, for somebody in Lorne's position, it is a little bit more difficult than it is for me. I don't have to go back and think, oh, I spent a month trying to fuck a kid and scammed an old couple. The fact that he won't admit that it was him that did those things means any kind of improvement is impossible. Because the life is difficult bit, he doesn't grasp. You know, people are going to let you down. Your siblings might be a bunch of wankers. You know, your dad did leave you when you were 3. You know, there's stories of massive hardships all across the world. You know, let me just read the next part of the book when it's talking about... So, most do not fully see this truth that life is difficult. Instead, they moan more or less incessantly, noisily or subtly about the enormity of their problems. Does this sound familiar? Their burdens and their difficulties, as if life were generally easy, as if life should be easy. They voice their belief noisily or subtly that their difficulties represent a unique kind of affliction that should not be, and that has somehow been especially visited upon them, or else upon their families, their tribe, their class, their nation, their race, or even their species, and not upon others. I know about this moaning because I've done my share. And that's from the author. We've all done that, haven't we? The degree at which you do that will determine how dysfunctional your life is. You know, the inner your outer life will become a manifestation of how you feel inside. That's why they say tidy up your house. You know, tidy house, tidy mind. It's true. You know, doesn't mean everybody that lives, you know, has got a messy house is a wanker. You know, it's like Jordan Peterson says. He makes the analogy that clean your room before you start trying to sort the world out. I know some people don't like him because of his views, but I like that because it means that, you know, these people that are telling you how to live your life, and mainly fucking keyboard warriors, and they don't even, you know, they haven't even got their own shit together. Like, I remember when I used to, obviously there's Lorne's drinking issues, but when I drunk, and I don't drink anymore, but when I did, I remember being in this bar, my mate's bar, my mate owned a pub. Well, he owns a different one now, but I think it was a Friday night, and this guy, I'd never seen him before. I think I went out on my own, which I used to do sometimes. This guy, I'd never seen him before, and I remember he looked not like I was going to end up in a fight with him, but he looked angry, like pissed off about something, and he started whinging about the local government and complaining about it. And I just remember I got annoyed because I'm not interested in... Why would I want to hear a complete stranger whinge about something that they have no knowledge over? And he was whinging and whinging and whinging, and I was like, dude, what, I'm not interested. He said, well, don't you care about the government and the local this, that? And I said, yeah, but you're either going to do something about it or you're fucking not. It's Friday night. I thought, and I was pissed off. I thought this could lead to a fight, because I just kind of like lost my shit with him. I just said, it's Friday fucking night and you're whinging about something you're doing nothing about. So either do something about it or shut the fuck up. And he actually did shut up. People want to complain. It strengthens the ego as well. Like, so if you complain about things, anything, you then put yourself in the right category. You are right and they are wrong. And that makes you feel good about yourself. And that works on a small scale, and it works on a big scale with regard to politics. I'm not going to start citing... All I have to do is mention a fucking politician's name in these videos and people go mad. But, like, people will go, I'm right and they're wrong. From a certain perspective, maybe you are right. But even if most people haven't got a fucking clue what they are talking about. Most people, when it comes to stuff like that. You don't know. Have you ever been a politician? Have you ever walked that line? Have you ever, no, you fucking haven't. Well, okay, well, I did. Well, fucking go and do it then. I don't like that. It's like you can have an opinion, talk about it with your friends. Don't start ranting at people and thinking you know what the truth is. You don't know what the fucking truth is. In most cases. But that's, that's something that it's understandable. People get politics affects people's lives, and politicians make decisions that shape people's lives. So I understand we all get emotional about it. The next part of the book, in my book club episode, life is a series of problems. Do we want to moan about them or solve them? Do we want to teach our children to solve them? Discipline is the basic set of tools we require to solve life's problems. As I'm reading those words, I remember when I first read that book, all I thought about was Lorne when I was reading it. I didn't think about myself. I just thought about, fucking hell, how much does this apply to Lorne? Because he's an exaggerated kind of human, in a way. Because his tale is so extraordinary, it's so apparent from when you read a book that is spoken from the truth, when there's a deeper truth. There's some books that are great on an intellectual level, but there's some books that speak to you from a deeper place. This is one of those books. And when that happens, you immediately identify with the truth because it's inside you. And you can relate it to real life stories sometimes, your own, a family member, or Lorne. Because he's my favourite human case study. Because he's fucked up so much. And that's why I think we continue to talk about him. Excuse me. And I continue to make videos about him. And I don't do these very often because we do the streams. And I much prefer doing the streams because I don't... it's good to get somebody else's perspective. Like, it's nice to do these every now and again, but Shin, Amanda, James and Tiffany, they're intelligent people and they're insightful, and it's good to get somebody else's perspective on it because I can run away with myself sometimes and you know, they'll say, oh, maybe it's not. Plus, it's fun as well, isn't it? You know, it's really good fun. That's what I like about the lawn thing. There's so many facets to it. Yeah. So, I think I'm going to leave it there, actually. This was just... I cannot recommend that book enough, guys, really. The Road Less Travelled. Give it a go. You can get it. I think you can get it on Kindle for very little, and even like, I think I bought a second-hand copy because I'm such a cheapskate. It's only like $5. It's brilliant. It really is. There's some humour in it as well. It's not too heavy on the spiritual stuff. It doesn't say sit in the corner of your room and meditate and go for 30 minutes. You know what I mean? So don't worry about that. It's just a brilliant practical book. Every single person, I think, could get something out of it. Especially Lorne. I'd fucking love to go through that book with him bit by bit. I mean, I'd have to get paid a lot of money, like, you know, because I'd be wasting my fucking time. But you get what I mean? It'd be, like, kind of entertaining. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Guys, I really hope it's a bit of something different. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Could you let me know if you have, please? And then I don't need to waste my time doing any more of them if nobody else. So yeah, hopefully this fucking isolation bollocks will end soon and I can get on with my life. But in the meantime, there might be a few more videos like this. It's one of the advantages of having a little YouTube channel that people can sometimes pay attention to. But anyway, I hope you're doing all right, everybody. I hope you're all staying away from COVID and you've had a nice Christmas so far. So I'll catch up with you on the next stream. Take it easy.